So good afternoon. We're going to push on through, playing with some more with the coordinate plane and working with points on a coordinate plane. This specific thing is going to get a little bit more specific about quadrants and axes, because you may have some questions concerning those two vocabulary words. So let's say I got a question that says, state the quadrant or axis that each point lies. Now remember, the horizontal line is our x-axis, the vertical line is our y-axis. Quadrant 1 is that upper right corner, and they kind of go counterclockwise. So quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. For some reason, a lot of the math goes in a counterclockwise direction. So to identify what quadrant these points lie in, the best thing to do is actually plot them. So I'm going to kind of freehand a graph, a coordinate plane. So I'm going to draw my y-axis, and then I'm going to intersect my y-axis with an x-axis. So I have a y-axis and my x-axis. And it looks like my numbers aren't too big here, so my tick marks don't need very many of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if I don't put any label on my tick marks, they're understood to be counting by ones. So I'm not going to label these tick marks. It's going to be understood that this stands for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so forth and so on. So point T tells me to start at the origin, go left 3, and up 5. So from here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So point T, that tells me that I'm in quadrant 2. And you actually got to use Roman numerals here. Don't put the number 2. Use the Roman numeral 2 for that. That's what they're looking for. Point U is 1, 0. So again, I start the origin, 1, and stay put, 1, 0. That's point U. So point U is on the x-axis. Let's write down x-axis there. And then point V, we have a negative 5, 5. So starting at the origin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, over, and up 5 as well. So it looks like that one is also in quadrant 2. Okay. Some things to also pick up on as we do our math. Notice that to get into the quadrant 1, you have to move to the right, which is the positive direction, and you also have to move up, which is the positive direction. So in the first quadrant, the x-coordinate has to be positive, and the y-coordinate has to be positive. To get in quadrant 2, notice how you have to have a negative value and then a positive value. So you have to go left, which is the negative direction, and then a positive direction. So notice how if you have a negative and a positive, that's going to actually put you in a second quadrant. The third quadrant, both of your values would have to be negative. So you're going to have to move left and down. Those are both considered negative directions. So if the x-coordinate is negative and the y-coordinate is negative, that's going to actually put you in what we call the third quadrant. And if you go right and down, so if it's a positive then a negative, that's actually going to put you down into the fourth quadrant. To be on the axis, notice how there's going to be an x value but no y value. The y value is going to be 0. So if the y value is 0, you're actually going to be on the x-axis. To be on the y-axis, you're going to have a 0 y. So you're not going to move left or right any, so the x value is going to be 0, and then there's going to be a y direction, up or down. So those are some helpful notes to do this. So notice how I have a negative and a positive, negative and a positive. Negative and positive tells me second quadrant. 1, 0, notice how the y value is 0. Y value is 0, that tells me I'm on the x-axis. A negative positive again, that will put me back in the second quadrant. So those are some things to keep in mind as you move forward. Okay, stay tuned.